Hello, everybody. Today is Friday, August 28th. I am your, this is the kops office hours. I am your moderator, facilitator, Justin Santa Barbara. I work at Google. A reminder, this meeting is being recorded, will be put on the internet on YouTube, and please be mindful of our code of conduct, which boils down to being a good person. We do have a fairly full agenda. I pasted the link to the agenda in the chat in Zoom here. Please do feel free to add your name to the agenda. I will repaste it in case anyone doesn't have it. Please do feel free to add your name to the agenda, particularly if you want people to correlate you when watching the video, correlate you back when watching the video. And because we have so much on the agenda, please do add your topics at the correct point, which isn't necessarily at the end, but so like if wherever it makes sense, and we will endeavor to get through all of them. But if we don't have them in the minutes, in the meeting notes, it will be hard to do so. All right, so with that.
And may I suggest, it looks like some open discussion items are going in the action items section, so make sure it's in the right section.
Please, yes. Yes, we have a review action items from last time section. I can also make some adjustments or try to make some adjustments on the fly. If I make a mistake, please call me on it. But we do have some action items for review from last time. Hackman, I believe you bravely volunteered last time to attempt a release, and you are going to update us on the status of said release.
So first of all, sorry if I didn't wait for everyone to LGTM, as the procedure says, but being an alpha, I don't think that's really that much of a problem. Short update, short version. Managed to do build, image promotion, even the GitHub draft, it's ready with the release note and everything. Thanks. So there are 3 things that didn't work. Well, 2 are related to COPE and the S3, your S3 private repo that we use. Well, it's
fair enough. Yes, the legacy buckets and legacy yes, the legacy locations. How about that?
Okay, so those ones are, well, obviously I don't have permissions to write there. But there is still the artifact promotion that probably you also have the credentials for it, being the project owner or something. Working at Google.
It's actually because I've been working on this on the binary promoter. It is not yet the non-image promoter. It is not yet there. And yes, I do have it's not yet automated, and I currently have permission to promote it manually. I will lose that permission once we get it working in an automated fashion. But yes, I will do this.
I noticed a few things, the major ones. One, there is no tooling section in the release document. So if someone new starts, it's like, where is the cluster image promoter, for example? There are a few minor other issues with tools, except for the cluster image promoter, which doesn't work on Mac, which for me was a problem. Doesn't build.
Please do open an issue if you haven't already done so on that topic.
I didn't want to open it until we discuss. I will do it after. So I didn't know if it was intentional not to support Mac, or
it certainly wouldn't have been a deliberate decision to not support Mac. It may have been that I guess this is Linus, that there's some reason why it's hard to support the Mac, but I suspect it's just that he doesn't use a Mac.
Yeah, I think there are some libraries, sys Unix something. Didn't dig too much because I really wanted to actually finish the release. But other than that, I think someone that does it once probably takes 1 hour or 2 hours to find whatever binaries need to be installed. But after that should be a pretty easy task to go through them. And there was one more issue with image promoter. I don't think the YAML that's generated, it's actually correct. The way it's done in the tooling, it adds a new section with duplicating the names. So instead of merging with the previous content, as me and Peter saw, that is for
Yes.
the other.
Currently we have it grouped by release, which I think is the right thing to do. Otherwise it will become very difficult to review. I think it works. If it doesn't work,
it works. It
okay.
works. So just that I'm not sure that if it's meant to work like this or it's just by fluke.
It's actually a really good topic. If you generate the manifests for the non-container images, you'll see that there are different files for each release, which is sort of like a much, in my opinion, clearer way of doing things. And that's sort of, so it's sort of like a question of how should we use this? And I think that's a great issue to open again in that repo and say like, look, here's how we're using it. And like, does this make sense type thing and that sort of thing.
Okay, so
lower priority
for that.
Cool. And on the topic of the requirements, one of the things we could do is we could create a subdirectory with its own Go mod. And we could basically reference the tools as long as they're Go tools and then run them from there. So we would have a known version of the tools as well without polluting the main Go mod.
By the way, there is one tool written by you.
It's always me.
Yeah, and you have to merge one of your PRs there, minus SRC.
I probably can't merge it, but yes, someone has to approve it. But yes, I will make sure it gets merged. Yes.
Okay, and I don't know. I thought it was in your repo or something. I don't remember. Anyway, the feeling was that it's doable, so with minimal effort, and because the image promotion works, I already did the change in kops to use the images from the official repo. So for the next release, we can skip pushing to kope.io Docker Hub.
That could be great. Yes, because like the reason that these still exist. So it'd be good to get rid of. Yeah, the reason these still exist is because we haven't yet moved the canonical location, in particular from the Q.v2 bucket. That relies on the binary promoter, but yes, doing the image one would be great.
So it's done. My question was, do we want to do it also for 1.18? Considering the Docker Hub,
the money?
Not money, because my understanding is that you actually have to be authenticated, you as a user. Doesn't matter if it's a paid repo or something.
Oh.
So when you pull the images, you have to be a paid user or something to not hit the rate limiting. It's not per bucket, let's say.
Yeah, it's per client IP.
Yeah. So,
and that's even if I were to pay for Copio.
Yeah.
So there's no way out of it, basically.
It is by moving it to.
Oh yes, I mean yes, that's correct. Yes, not yes. Okay.
So people would. So there is the small limit where you can pull unauthenticated. There is a bigger limit where you can authenticate with a free account, which is 200 pulls, which is tiny because it's per. How to say?
6 hours.
No, it's not per image, but it's per, I can find the word for.
It is now per image, but it counts two of each image counts for two things because it's done against a request against a certain endpoint. There is, I believe, a workaround for open source projects, but you have to actively get in touch with them. I can find out from someone else I know the email address to get in touch.
So I heard something that it could be per layer, not per.
They've now clarified it. I will find a link and.
Okay, but in any case, if you want to pull more, so you have a bigger cluster and want to do a rolling update, then you would have to somehow authenticate and pull images like that. Otherwise, you will hit their rate limiting. Okay, so.
Definitely in favor of moving, unclear on the backporting. I don't know if anyone else feels strongly either way.
Sorry?
I said, sorry, I definitely like agree on the moving 119. I'm not clear on whether we should backport. I don't know if other people have a strong opinion. We can think about it a bit.
We can wait to see what happens. It was just a suggestion.
I think, sorry, I think if we're extending the backwards support, and also if there is probably a lot of people that won't be able to move to 119, and if they have a large cluster and they do a running restart for any reason, a security patch or whatever, they might actually get into troubles for that. So that's one thought.
Yeah, agreed. I think the unknown is whether Docker Hub is going to have some, like what Guy is pointing out about whether Docker Hub is going to have some magic flag they can flip for open source projects.
And if you can get someone from there to talk to you. That's a challenge sometimes with them.
I'm not going to say anything. Shall we continue on?
Okay, so next thing, there is another, sorry.
The release artifacts in GitHub, it sounds like, was a proposal you had.
The list of artifacts in GitHub is quite big. And from my point of view, it's unnecessary to link directly images or even node up. So my proposal would be to just have all the kops binaries with hashes plus an offline package that someone can download and contains everything. So it will be much less messy.
That seems like a good idea. One of the tricks we're using is actually to use GitHub as one of our mirrors.
That doesn't work at the moment.
Okay.
That doesn't work because GitHub does not allow you to have paths. So we have binaries that are right now are per architecture and OS, whatever. And
yeah, sorry, it should work because we have special logic to detect GitHub in our mirror logic and rewrite the paths, use underscores. That's how much we wanted this, or how much I wanted this.
Okay, then I guess I messed it up.
Okay, or like it wasn't. It has to be published, of course. So it's sort of, you never know if it's going to work until it's up there.
Ah, okay. Anyway, because as I did the changes for ARM64, I never looked at this logic part, so I might have broken it a bit, but I think we only need it for node up, so shouldn't be, and protocube, right?
Yes, I think so. I think it would be nice if we had a second, like in the long term, it would be nice if artifacts.kits.io was bulletproof and reliable, and we didn't have to do this, and we could have clean GitHub releases. But that's why we have these binaries in the GitHub release right now. It's a second mirror.
Okay, I will think about it. Okay.
Thank you. And you have the next item as well. Sorry, I want to keep us moving along here. So you about moving images from Copio to kates.gcr.io, which it sounds like you.
Yeah, we already discussed it.
Yeah.
I said that I will create an issue about handling graceful recreation of etcd manager volumes. We discussed that if the volumes fail, you have to do a lot of magic to get it to recover.
Right.
Or
I am sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
So last time we discussed that etcd manager cannot handle volume failures in one of the cluster members. So you said to create an issue in etcd manager, and I created it. Also, I think at some point we will have to cut a new version. There is one fix for OpenStack, and there will be also the multi-arch and maybe this one if someone manages to work on it. If not, but anyway, we need the 349 etcd, right?
Yes, it's some version. I seem to recall there are more fixes going in every day. But yes, anyway, thank you for creating the issue. I apologize, I have not yet had a chance to look at it. We should update to the latest etcd. As I recall, in upstream Kubernetes, there was some debate about like whether we were waiting for a fix that just landed or something like that to do with permissions, file permissions.
Okay. No problem.
But yes, and I think that would be great. And it sounds like Rodrigo, you have a related. Oh, I guess these aren't necessarily action items from last time, but I think it's okay. Rodrigo, do you want to talk about etcd manager on Stretch?
Sorry about that. I probably put it in the wrong section. It's mostly about moving etcd manager out of Stretch. It's no longer supported. So I know we're using the Hypercube image before. That is discontinued. There's no update on it. I just started using Debian base, which is what KK uses, and installed the required mount and other packages on there. So, yeah.
That sounds great. And did you send oh, cool, this is PR. Yes, perfect. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yep.
I'll take a look at this, but it sounds perfect. Thank you. And it shouldn't, as far as I know, it shouldn't matter to anyone because it's a container.
Yeah.
I also think that if we want, we can move to distroless. It's pretty much the same thing I did for ProtoCube. Just that people would have to mount the right, anyway, they have to mount the right volumes to use it. But my thought is that distroless would work for etcd manager also.
Can't remember whether we have to make FS. Do we have to make FS? Do we have to make MKFS XT4? And is it in distroless?
No, we mount.
Oh, the host one. Yeah.
The host one, so it works. In any case, in case of systemd or something, it's better to mount the host one to have the same version than to use what's on some image.
Well, let's start with what Rodrigo has sent, I propose, and then let's see whether we should go to distroless. I think that makes sense.
Okay.
That's okay. Thank you. Eric, on the GCE test jobs, or Eric and Peter, it looks like.
This is just a quick update from last week. Based on the discussion we had, we were having issues with the service account that the GCE nodes were running as. They didn't have access to a state store bucket or any storage. So we were having trouble granting the permissions. So Justin suggested to create that bucket inside the project. and manage that as part of the life cycle of kubetest. So we got a couple PRs in, actually got some changes. We actually got changes into kubetest, which was awesome. We are waiting for some final like thumbs up and some tests to let's see if hopefully that works. If it doesn't, then I'll put another patch in that will just set the permissions on the bucket. I was trying to avoid doing that, but otherwise we think we may be able to get this going again for real. So Peter, anything else to add on that? That seemed about right to you.
No, that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you both. I don't know if I can do permissions on that. I can do the LGTMs, but I will also. Oh.
Yeah, no, we're not waiting on. It's not you in this case. It's in test infra, but I'm not sure you're the one that's.
I can probably ping some people that may have permission and say, "This looks good to me, please."
They've been pretty responsive for us, so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're actually pretty good.
We'll let you know if we run into issues.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for doing that. Okay, let's move into the open discussion section. First up, Hackman talking about our friend Calico v2 and etcd2.
Yeah, kind of bumped into that this week. There was a bug where, because of some old change there, it was using an older when you selected Calico, when you created a cluster, it was using etcd 3.1 something, I think, or 3.2 something. And it's not okay. There is a lot of logic there in validation that's quite confusing. And it's only there to keep a version of Calico for etcd2 for 1.11, for Kubernetes 1.11. And that one is already deprecated in 1.19. I would just like to clean this up so that we don't have any more confusions because of V2, V3. It would affect probably a very small set of people that would like to use etcd v2 with Kubernetes. Well, that would like to use kops 1.19 to manage their etcd2 cluster.
And specifically, yeah, I don't know if I don't know if there's anyone in that camp, anyone that is still doing so. I don't think it's unreasonable at this time to say like we should not backport it, but to say like kops 1.19 does not support this. I think that's I don't know. We haven't technically deprecated it. Have we deprecated Calico v2 technically?
Well, we deprecated Kubernetes 1.11 in 19, so it'll be gone in 1.20.
What's the maximum version of Kubernetes that Calico v2 supports? Maybe we could drop support for Calico v2 when we drop support for that Kubernetes version.
Sorry?
I think Peter suggested like if Calico v2, as far as I know, if Calico v2 stops working with say Kubernetes 1, is only supported up to Kubernetes 1.14 or something. When we drop Kubernetes 1.14, we could obviously drop Calico v2.
No, it's just 1.11. That's it. The manifest stops there. So there is a manifest from Kubernetes 1.12 that uses only v3. There is no v2 for.
You're running kops or in Calico itself?
In kops. So,
okay.
But we have a fixed Calico manifest in our repo. So if you want to move to Kubernetes 1.12, you have to switch from v2 to v3.
Yeah, and so we've deprecated Kubernetes 1.11 in 1.19, and so it will be gone in 1.20.
Well, I wanted to do it sooner because I think it's a very small, a very narrow pie of people. I don't know who would want, and anyone that really wants to do that can do it with kops 118, for example. It seems too much trouble to keep the V3 validations around.
I think one of the things we should talk about is whether we want to start the 120 branch, i.e. do 119, like cut the 119 branch. If we feel like we can do it in 120, maybe that lets us keep our deprecation policy. But normally I'm the person arguing for deprecation, like we should be like careful and do this. But in this case, I feel like it's so on the edge that I don't know if it's doing anyone a service to encourage them to keep running Calico v2.
On the other hand, the benefit is just a little bit of code complexity, which when we branch, it's gone. So
yeah, so why don't we prioritize doing cutting the 119 branch so that master becomes 120, and then we'll get the let's pre-announce it in 119, and then
we don't have to pre-announce it because we dropped the whole 111 and 112 version. So that's already, you cannot anyway run it.
Yeah, it's just like it's just a over communication type thing, like just telling people that if you are doing this, then like things are going to go wrong. Yeah.
I will add a release note in 118.
Okay, cool. Or 119, but yeah.
19, sorry. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't know if Ole is here. He has a.
He's not.
Are you going to represent this cluster autoscaler?
Well, why not? So he did a PR. It's a nice idea to take care of cluster autoscaler because it's also Kubernetes version related. So it's not a generic add-on like Nginx Ingress, let's say. So would be nice to keep it in line with kops versions. And you think that it would go very well in add-ons, in the new add-on?
I'm not opposed to the PR. I'm opposed to the reasoning. I think we can achieve that with cluster add-ons, but I'm not opposed to the PR itself. I don't know if anyone else has any views on this PR.
It's in review cycle. I've got review comments on it, so it's got an unrelated change in there.
Yeah, more like bigger picture. Like I'm sure that Ole will address those review things, but
yeah, this was just generic if we want it or not, and what the plan is, because I think adding a new add-on is something that we need to discuss in the call. So I also think that if the add-on manager will work as we want it, probably we will move it there, and together with core DNS and whatever else we can move to make things simpler.
Yeah, the argument that I would make there is we have enough add-ons in kops tree already that we have to have a migration path that works well, and so having the add-on in the tree doesn't cost us anything, and it helps us like figure out what that manifest should look like and get people using it. So I don't want to block in-tree add-ons on a hopefully imminent cluster add-on solution.
I mean, it needs configuration, so it adds cluster spec. Adds to the API.
Yeah, we have to figure out how to make that work. But yes, in the bright new cluster add-ons future. So, but yeah, so like it doesn't hurt us to have the requirements, to discover the requirements in kops, in tree.
Okay, and switch for it with enable, disable by default, right?
At least for this beginning when we introduce it, yes. It sounds like we've been like trending towards making it more required, but I don't want to introduce it and make it enable by default.
I don't think it will work with exactly every cloud we support. So it would be best to just leave people to say, hey, I want to enable it. Or anyway, we can discuss this at a later time.
Cool. So I have the next topic, which is a general discussion of cluster add-on operators. I propose that we defer that till later because there looks like there's some sort of potentially better defined topics. So shall I jump? Unless anyone disagrees, I'm going to jump to Moshe about GCE support.
Yeah. There's an issue that we've been tracking, and Peter has been really helpful with addressing issues that we've been finding. So we're trying to set up a production-ready cluster on GCE that is private. So with the Bastion, internal load balancer and everything. I was just curious because I noticed even in the documentation that GCE isn't really a first-class citizen yet in kops. We need to enable like the feature flag and everything. So I was just curious if we even have any sort of plan around it to promote it to be officially supported.
I definitely would like to see it fully supported. That was partially my goal before coronavirus hit, and so that's sort of on me. But
so unfortunately, as far as like Go knowledge goes, I don't have that much to actually dive into the code and like find the bugs. I can help with any way I can. Testing is something I'm willing to do. With, I mean, we have an account on GCE and we're willing to try and help out with anything we can. So at least from that area, yeah, I'm
that's definitely, we are super happy to have more people using it. I think that's one of the biggest things. But when I meant testing, I was saying our automated end-to-end testing right now has been broken for GCE. So that's what Peter and I have been working to fix. So that will hopefully help. Like the idea is get that. Your situation.
Eric, I think you're breaking up, at least for me, judging by some other faces. I think so too. You might want to turn off your video because it sounded like bandwidth or something, maybe.
Sorry, not sure what that is.
Much better.
Okay, in any event, yeah, so we're working on getting the testing correct first so that we can create a situation that looks like your private networking so that we can have that captured in the end-to-end test so that we don't break, so that we get kops working for GCE. And then once we have that working, we can make sure that use case.
We lost you again in the end. And I guess my last question on it would be, so I mentioned an issue there, 8626, which has been open for a while, and we just reopened it actually, it was closed. Do we want to create a new issue and like centralize all the open issues we can see there, or do we just want to use this one and continue moving forward? Like,
but maybe we can transfer the stuff out of that. Anything that's like any active action items out of that and make a new issue. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. I think, yeah, it's reasonable. I think, yeah, everyone's workflows are different and whatever. Yeah, if you have some bandwidth, look at this, then if that would help you, then that's great. I also want to make GCP work better with kops. So obviously, it's just a matter of finding all the time. But as I recall, like the big blockers are figuring out the things which are harder to change. So in other words, should we do the IP aliases, which are the AWS equivalent is the AWS VPC CNI. Should we do that as the primary mechanism, or should we use the routes thing? I think we should use IP aliases, but that's the sort of thing which we have to figure out, which would be a bit like, I think even with GKE, there is no way to switch a cluster. And that's what we want to figure out before we make it like not feature flagged. Anything that would require you to rebuild your cluster, we want to decide and get a quick decision on. If you have insight into whether we should use what GKE calls IP aliases, or whether we should use, I think what we're still doing today, which is the custom routes, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, we should definitely steer ourselves towards going the alias range, the secondary ranges that sort of the more native GKE or GCE networking. So yeah, I think that the primary obstacle to getting this getting that flag off is getting testing working and getting like a green test. Once we can do that, we can start thinking about moving that out of the alpha flag. And then as soon as that happens, we can really dig in on this and get this networking stuff ready for you. It's a goal of mine too. So we're on it.
Thank you.
And one more thing on that is, I think we could benefit from additional testing beyond what we're going to be able to do in kubetest. And so we have that other issue that I brought up last week about extending our end-to-end test coverage to cover like rolling updates or upgrades and stuff. And so if we could support those tests on GCE, that would definitely help in getting it out of alpha.
Okay, thank you. I think I know this number well, and I have written it down. But John, do you want to?
Yeah, well, it didn't want to take too long, but you know, this has come up on past meetings, and I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing landed. So
I don't know why I haven't taken a look at that. I apologize.
okay.
It's not that I just have not looked at it. I apologize. There's no reason for my not having done so. I don't know if anyone else has any things.
Okay, the next item. So I on 9653, which was getting nodes bootstrapped with kops controller, I'm wondering what would help other cloud provider implementers to take on a similar refactor in their cloud. You know, do they want separate? You know, should we file an issue for a cloud provider, one issue for all?
I can take a look at GCE. That would be fun, unless anyone else wants to. Okay, the likely suspects. The other ones are probably going to be harder. Well, the other ones are going to be harder to do in a fully secure way, i.e. they will likely rely on IP or something like that, I would guess.
Yeah, if they don't have a mechanism, then they might be better off staying with the bucket. But
This is 9653.
Yes, this is the more secure bootstrapping of worker nodes using Cloud Assist or cloud specific functionality.
Yeah, I'll try to take a look at that also.
yeah, the other one is surging. Would other cloud providers be interested in adding support for rolling update surges?
Yes, what's required for that?
You basically you have to find some way to tag your instances as detached and somehow detach them. I can definitely help point out what is needed, but I need someone who knows the cloud to actually implement it. So maybe an issue would help.
An issue would probably help. I think doing it for an issue, just doing what you described saying what you just would probably help a lot. And then we can, if we do one of them first, we can link that PR to that so that people have a reference of what it looks like, even if the details will be a little bit different in each cloud.
Is GCE the interested party, or is there somebody else, some other cloud wants to take it on?
I think the OpenStack people don't. Our time zone incompatible from with this one, so I would guess
that has people that know it and are potentially interested in using it. So.
Okay. And the other, what I want to said is, what timing do we want for branching and cutting beta for 119?
Had you already added this, or did you add this when I said it?
I had already added it.
Oh, look at you. I've already said my thing that we should think about it soon. I don't know if other people think we should do like.
I think our goal is to cut a beta soon after the release of Kubernetes. So are we close enough to cut up that we want to follow that goal?
But again, I don't think beta and cutting should be at the same time necessarily. So
that's true. It's about it's about the volume of it's about having a way to keep merging changes that are riskier, and we don't necessarily want to delay the 119 So like, for example, if we were to introduce cluster API, which like if I were to somehow get that into shape, or the better example, the cluster add-ons PR, right? This is it's not going to ship in the 119 timeframe. So to introduce it now is probably just additional risk. Like if we wanted to clear that and merge it somewhere, it's nice to have the two branches so that we can say, yes, we can merge this, it's in a grid state, but we don't want to take a schedule risk on the 119 release. So that's the reason.
Probably the better way to structure this is, what do we expect to get into 119 that isn't in already?
I'm hoping to have the certificate issue fixed for 119, which is next on the agenda.
But that involves an LB, right? So I don't really know if it's okay to merge an LB. So we should discuss if it is or not okay to merge it.
We can talk about that next. I think that's certainly one that we should. It's a candidate for 119, right? Like,
yeah.
And what are other?
So we can add also Peter's PR. So they are dependent.
Yeah, we need some fix for the ACM cert. So okay, I think that's our 119 blocker.
But that's not.
Feature.
I mean, it's not a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're big, but
we have also ARM64. There are two etcd manager and also pushing multi-arch manifests for the kops images.
Are we blocked on multi-arch?
I don't know, if we want to announce ARM64 support, then probably this should be done. For etcd manager, it was pretty easy to do it manually. For kops, it's, I don't know, I looked at the possibilities again, and my question is, which authentication would be supported in the cloud thing that pushes the images? We have something that promotes the images to Kubernetes staging, right?
Builds them and writes them there. Yes, pushes.
Let me propose that we shoot to try to branch sometime after the next meeting, or at least evaluate at the next meeting whether we're ready to branch. It sounds like we're not ready to branch now.
From my point of view, the ARM64 can be announced also for worker nodes for now, and we can branch the beta, let's say, just before the next meeting. Multi-arch images can be done easily at some point and merged, but we have to know that etcd manager, it's anyway a blocker, and we would have to do something about it. And also don't forget about etcd manager and Docker, because even if our images are on Kubernetes registry, etcd would still have to be pulled from the regular Docker account.
Do you mean etcd manager or?
Yes, etcd manager.
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying to get that merged into the etcd ADM Kubernetes SIGs project. I'm having a protracted battle with the CLA bot. Rodrigo, thank you for updating your email. I don't think it's you anymore. And yes, so that's one path. There may be others.
Okay, that would be cool.
Okay, so I propose targeting the branch after the next meeting. We'll check in the next meeting, see if we're ready.
Yeah, and people can think about what additional features we need in 119.
Okay.
Okay, which brings us nicely onto Peter's, your topic around the ACM certificate and removal of basic auth.
So we had a couple ideas for this last week. One involved creating a second listener on the ELB that does not have the certificate on it, so it's only layer 4, and it targets the same port on the instance, same API server authenticated port. It turns out there's a limitation with ELBs where you can't have an SSL, you can't have two listeners targeting the same port using different protocols. I'm not sure why that's a restriction, but it is. So if we believe the dual listeners option is the best way to solve this, then I think we would need to be using NLBs. And there's a work in progress PR to add support for it, but it's fairly out of date, so it's going to need some updates, and it's still a significant change, so it'll require some review. But the authors said they're hoping to get it done soon, but if we believe that this is the solution, then I think this should be considered a blocker for 119. Unless anyone has any other ideas for how to solve the certificate.
I'm thinking the other PR targeting the internal DNS name might have to do. The only other thing I can think of is we bring back support for static tokens. And give them a static token instead of a basic authentication.
Okay, they're considered.
I don't like it, but it's a.
Yeah, the other one I was thinking of is we have the what is it? We have the health check, Kube API health check. So we have that one. Maybe that could open another port. I don't really, that wasn't the intent of that sidecar, so I'm not wild about it. But that's another option, like, or by some means open a second port. And the obvious means is that sidecar. Okay, where are we discussing? Is there an issue for this that we're discussing it on, or on which issue are we discussing?
It's in, I believe, the first link in my note.
9756. Okay. All right. Well, let's I guess let's evaluate those options, and I agree that it is very likely a blocker because it's. I think people have used this functionality, and it is it's a regression. It's behavior that used to work and goes away. Okay. Anything we want to add on that, or should we carry on and talk about on the issue? Okay. Simone, Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, hi everybody. A bit of a lighter topic. I was wondering, Hacktoberfest is coming in a month and something, and I think it could be a good opportunity to get more attention to the project and attract more contributors. There's a bit of things that the project could do, like adding labels and I mean, maybe improving the contributors ND and with like links to the development documentation. I think it could be a good opportunity to actually gather more contributors. We could be advertised in the Cube, in the kops users or dev, and I guess a lot of people can use this as a with their company to justify spending some time on it.
That sounds cool. I don't think we're ever going to regret that sort of the investment in the contributor experience. And it's nice to have a motivating thing like Hacktoberfest. Like Hacktoberfest starts in October, right?
Sorry?
Does Hacktoberfest?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe so. I think it goes off for a month, and the goal is to get 5 PRs opening projects. So I mean, even if it's documentation or I mean, it's important. Well, everybody's important. I could do, I mean, I'm offering to do an effort to look into what it means and say we could do these things to prepare for it. I think maybe I can even go through issues and guess which ones could be a good starter issues, but I'm not sure I'm the most appropriate person to do it.
That, I mean, that
I guess
sounds...
it would take some time from you guys.
I think it's a good idea to at least look into it. I think, in my opinion, I think, yeah, I think it's great, particularly if you want to organize it. I think like trying to corral people to do these things would always be appreciated. And I do worry a little bit that we're going to have like, you know, not enough review bandwidth if we have 8,000 PRs that get opened, but maybe we can see. I don't know who organizes Hacktoberfest.
It's DigitalOcean.
Okay. Yeah, if we could get, maybe we could persuade them that they should give credits for people that want to hack on DO support for kops, and
there is swag everywhere for whoever gets. So there is some kind of prize for participating. I'll try to come back next meeting with something. I mean, whatever I looked at, and maybe, I don't know, an idea of how much effort it would be.
Yeah, the other thing that makes it particularly attractive right now, in my opinion, is with KubeCon going virtual, there aren't that many like fun things, and I feel like KubeCon has also gone a little bit more corporate. So like this sort of fun thing is not the norm anymore, and so like this would be complementary to KubeCon. How about that? In terms of audience and fun. So I'm particularly enthusiastic about this sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know a lot of details, but I think it'd be fun, and as long as we can make sure that it doesn't swamp our limited bandwidth, and I think it's good. And like we might not have time to talk about it, but the Google Summer of Code program I think was great in this regard. So this could be like a fun version of that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, let's definitely talk about that next time, please. And okay, so we have 5 minutes left. Let's talk. So the release plan for the upcoming 2 weeks, I will do the I will finalize the release of the Alpha 3, which needed some like the pieces I needed to do. And then it sounds like there's a proposal for Alpha 4. I don't know if someone wants to volunteer to do that again, or someone wants to volunteer. A big no, is that? You're muted, Cyprian. That may be deliberate, you're swearing.
No, I wouldn't do that. I actually like this. So I'm offering to do it. If someone else wants to do it, to try it, I don't mind, and I can help because I already did it freshly. So if there are any takers, I can help. If not, I can do it.
Don't all talk at once. If
Okay.
if someone is keen to do it, then please contact Cyprian.
It's okay. I plan to do it closer to our meeting, so closer to the next 2 weeks. So there is still time to add stuff to it. Okay.
Cool. Thank you. And I don't think we need any other releases as far as I know. If we do, please add.
We need. They were not copied from last time.
That's my mistake then. Okay, so we need like a 118 something?
Yes. So do you want, let me copy.
I got it. Oh, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead. I apologize. Yeah, let me talk a little bit about the Google Summer of Code and add-ons in the 3 minutes we have left then, if that's okay. So yeah, so we, Samtoshi, who I guess the time zones were incompatible, but has done amazing work in Google Summer of Code this summer. And so the final pieces are to get some of that work integrated into the various providers. Like a lot of it really is a good fit for kops, in my opinion. And I want to give a big shout out to John, who's done excellent work highlighting the places where it might not be the perfect fit for all users. And I think we are in a better place. Well, we're certainly in a better place. I think we're actually in a good place. Like it felt like on the more recent, there's still stuff to do, but it felt like in the more recent reviews, we've like Satoshi has made changes to split out RBAC permissions in a good way, I think. We're talking about ways to basically like reduce the ability of the operator further, possibly in a way that is like applicable to more than just add-on operators, but in general, like the very notions of Kubernetes security, I'd say, in terms of like, can I restrict the images which we pull or which I run in my cluster, and can I restrict the ability of users to use service accounts that happen to be available in the cluster, which are not specific to add-ons, but are, I think, add-ons highlights them. I would ask people to follow John's example and like comment on the, not only on the code, but on the structural issues as well of the well, there's a work in progress PR for core DNS. I think, you know, I will fix the code issues, but the bigger sort of picture like issues are important to fix as well. And Satoshi is able to make changes to the add-ons to address those structural issues. Cool. Yeah, and John, I don't know if there's anything you want to call out in particular as remaining concerns.
Not here, so I'll take another pass.
I mean, I think the one I'm definitely aware of is like restricting the images that can run in a cluster. I don't know if anyone has a solution for that they are running today. It feels like it would be a good thing to introduce generally, like the idea of image policy or something like that. But I haven't seen one in open source, which is a little bizarre. So maybe no one cares.
One blocker for 119 would be the helper for authentication. Oh, sorry. Let me see the PR.
Are you talking about add-ons or are you talking about in 119?
Sorry, about 119.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I was just, yes. I
thought that.
No, it's fine.
It's your PR.
The kube cutoff, yes. The general authentication. We've definitely done a lot of churn on that and like looking at where we are and whether we are happy to proceed with it. Okay, well, we are at time. If there's nothing else.
One more thing, very briefly. This came up a couple of times during this meeting about time zones. I'm wondering if it would be reasonable to consider adjusting or adding another meeting that's more friendly to European time zones, if anyone's open to that.
We can certainly do an additional meeting, as it were, like an optional one. And it looks like I think it's a great thing to discuss. Okay, we could have an issue, and we could try to poll to see if people would show up, or we could do a doodle poll, which sometimes is an indication of whether people would show up. I worry that we sort of split people, and like people would have to show up to both anyway, type thing. So it doesn't necessarily actually help, is sort of the challenge, but it would be nice to like be able to introduce new people. There's also Asia, there's Europe and there's Asia, and I feel like we exclude both, and those are basically incompatible time zones with each other.
And I just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll open an issue that we can discuss it more, but go ahead.
I just think that the day itself is problematic. I mean, in Europe, it's like the end of Friday where you're generally going to have, you know, some kind of activity. If it was Thursday, I mean, another day would be, I think, just better, even if the time would be the same. I mean, that's just one side of it.
That's a good point. Like Rodrigo's feedback that, yes, it's not necessarily particularly friendly time hours for California either, or West Coast either. All right. And so, Peter, you're going to open an issue, you said? Okay, yeah, and we can do some sort of poll or something. It sounds like that might be, because it might be surprising with everyone sort of disrupted globally. All right, well, if there's the final call for items, and otherwise we will call time. All right, well, I wish everyone a very happy 2 weeks, and looks like we've got some busy weeks of, or busy 2 weeks of development to do, and see everyone in 2 weeks. Thank you.